Hello everyone, my name's Bryan, and I'm delighted to be here today to talk to you, so thank you everyone. Oh, let me just go back a second. Apologies. Not the best start. Let's try again. So, thank you for having me. Now, I am delighted to be here. This is something that some of you may have seen before. The video I released a few months ago and has been shared by many people in the room, so thank you very much for that, with people around the world. But hopefully there'll be a few of you here who haven't seen it, and you've come to the right place. I hope you enjoy it. This will be a 20-minute abridged version of a 40-minute video. So let's get started. So what's the problem? Well, there's too many. There's a creeping sense for everybody that things are not moving in the right direction. The world is slowly deteriorating, and we can feel it all around ourselves. And for most people outside this room, they would view this list of problems, of which I could have written twice as many very easily, as unconnected items, things that share no central cause. What does the obesity problem have to do with declining birth rates, have to do with loss of trust? But for us, it's clear they share a root cause, and that's the quality of our money. So I'm going to take you through a story today. And so imagine we're on a far-off world, and there's hundreds of smart people traveling on a ship. And they're traveling across a vast ocean, and they run aground on an island. And this island is deserted, and it's so far away from everything else, they're effectively cut off. And they're stranded there. Now, given they've come from an advanced civilization, they know ultimately where they're going to get back to, but they're starting again from zero. So the first thing they need to do is figure out how are we actually going to trade with each other, how are we going to rebuild an economy. So for the very first time, they're having to think about, well, what money should we use? And suspend your disbelief slightly further. Despite being in rags, they can create whatever technological and monetary system that they want with any characteristics. So what makes good money? They decide not just to create good money, they decide to create the perfect money. And the perfect money is absolutely scarce. It's instantly and costlessly verifiable by anybody at any time. It's effortless to store and move with negligible trading costs. It's infinitely divisible. It exists forever without deterioration. Every piece is forever the same as every other piece. And everyone everywhere can accept and receive it. But the important piece is that it's censorship resistant. You hold it yourself. You don't require somebody else to hold it on your behalf, and no one can stop you sending or receiving it. And importantly, nobody can take it off you. So this is great. They've agreed on perfect money. But then a disagreement occurs. Two leaders emerge from within the island. One, Satoshi, he says, well, it's great. We all agree on these perfect characteristics. That's true today, true tomorrow, be true forever, because they're characteristics. So let's lock in the money, and we're never going to change it. Whereas Fiatello, he says, yeah, I agree. I agree with all that, but what if there's an emergency? What if the people we put in charge think we need to make any adjustments to the money at some point in the future? I think we should have the perfect money, but we need a big red button, which of course nobody will ever press. But the big red button that allows us to change any of those characteristics at any point if we need to. But of course no one ever will. Satoshi cannot get on board with this, so he builds a massive wall right down the middle of this island. And the wall is so big, it cuts off the trade and communication from both sides. And on one side, they use Satoshi's, perfect money always. And on the other side, they use Fiatello's, perfect money, unless someone presses the big red button. Now, to begin with, both sides are using effectively the same money. But they're starting again from zero. So the first order of the day is, how are they going to survive? Everybody's doing their own fishing for their food, cutting down trees for wood, for the fire, and for building shelters, and they're building their own shelters. It's super inefficient. There's very little excess of anything, and there's very limited trading because there is no excess. But humans being humans, They realize that I'm actually better at doing some things than others. I'm going to specialize. I'm going to focus on fishing. You focus on the wood cutting. We'll produce twice the amount in half the time, and we'll have excess. And because I can't build a house out of fish, you can't eat wood, we have to trade with each other. And now we have active trading with this perfect money. And not just that. We're driving the cost of these goods lower because we're increasing the excess. And as we do our jobs properly, we become better and more efficient at doing them. We unlock extra productivity gains, which improves the quality of the output as well. So prices begin to fall and quality starts to go up. But it's not just us doing the fishing and cutting down the trees. There's lots of people, so we're in competition. And when people are competing, the purchasers are making decisions on a combination of price and quality. You want the highest quality at the lowest price. So competition pushes prices lower, forces quality higher. And now because you have this active trading, you begin to build an economy. And then over time, as people become more efficient, further invest in their processes, you start to free up excess capital through savings, excess time. This time can be deployed on further innovation, investment in each other. The woodcutter invests in the fisherman to help him build a boat, improve the amount that he can catch, further lowering prices for everybody. And so in a free market with perfect money, prices go down forever and quality goes up forever. And so what we see on both sides of the island is the purchasing power of the money starts to increase. It starts to buy more next year than it does this year. The price of tomorrow is lower. The money itself is becoming more valuable. The productivity gains of the civilization is accruing to the money and raising the quality of life for everybody, regardless of whether you're productive or not. If you're unproductive, be you young or old, your savings don't melt. They accrue in value over time in purchasing power until these guys come along. Now, it doesn't matter if the government is left or right, big, small, doesn't matter. They're all the same. All the same when it comes to this. Now, however well run any of these governments are, they will inevitably run into a deficit. Through mismanagement, most likely, or through other scenarios like a natural disaster or such. The cause is unimportant, but it will happen over time. And this is where we see the divergence. For Satoshi, the only way he can balance the budget, he has to raise the taxes or cut the spending. There's no third option. But for Fiatello, he has the same, but he also has a big red button. And they're both up for re-election. And Fiatello knows if he raises taxes or he cuts spending, he's going to lose in votes. So just this once, he's going to press the big red button and print some extra money for the government. So what happens? This is where we see the divergence. So for Satoshi, not great. He loses the election, the short-term pain for the population, but the prices continue to fall and the quality continues to go up over time. For Fiatello, amazing. He gets re-elected, never had to tell the population anything. He thinks, this is superb. 0 consequences. But something has changed. So what's happened? He's hit the big red button, he's debased the currency, and this leads to 3 main impacts. The first is the distortion of the price signals in the free market. The second is that business input costs increase. And the third is asset inflation. Now that first one, the only reason prior to him printing these extra Fiatellos for any prices to change in the free market was due to demand and supply. So when Fiatello prints these Fiatellos, it goes into the pocket of the government, and from the government into the economy by companies and people connected to the government. Now this looks like extra demand. It's not extra demand, it's just extra Fiatellos. But it makes those sectors more profitable. It's a price signal to the rest of the market, the rest of the economy, to the active capital and active entrepreneurs, that there's extra profitability to play for in these sectors close to the government. So he starts to see the active capital, active entrepreneurs being sucked away from the areas of the economy they're currently contributing to, coming closer to the government, undermining the quality of the economy as a whole. Leads to the misallocation of capital, both human and real. The second is that input prices increase for all businesses. As the first recipients of the money spend money with other businesses on inputs, on hiring, you see a gradual spreading of this new money through the economy, which raises the input costs for everybody. And to every entrepreneur sees their profit margins begin to get squeezed. Now, entrepreneurs run businesses as a risk-reward trade-off. You run risk of running a business. You need to be rewarded with a certain amount of profitability to justify taking that risk. So every entrepreneur has three choices. I need to protect my profit margin, so I can either increase the prices, very visible inflation. I can shrink my product, semi-visible inflation. Or I can compromise my product in some way, which is hidden inflation. But this is all consumer inflation. This is the only source of consumer inflation, is the money printer and the market's natural response to extra Fiatellos being printed. Now, if we think about that first one, I could just keep my product the same size, same quality, and just pass on the price increase to the customer. But the customer becomes worse off because of that, because now they're buying the same thing, it's just costing them more. Or I can keep the product the same quality, same price, just make it 10% smaller. Customer may not even notice. Customer needed 100 grams, not 90 grams. They just need to buy more of the product. It's still inflation. It's just semi-visible. But alternatively, the business may not compromise on the size or the price, and instead compromise on the quality. And the easiest way to do that is to fire people, cut the human cost, which leads to lower quality products being produced. The products break sooner, and they have to be rebought sooner. It's still inflation, it's just in the frequency of purchases, not the cost. But there's a more insidious aspect here. The more insidious one, apologies. Unemployment leads to bigger government. The insidious one is that the quality of the food starts to deteriorate. The food which was previously of high nutritional value is increasingly replaced with industrialized sludge. And what Fiatello starts to see is he has a health crisis on his hands. People are now consuming things they shouldn't have been consuming. And this leads to an obesity crisis across the population, which leads, again, to bigger government having to deal with the health crises. But the third is asset inflation. Fiatello thinks he's solved economics. If I hit this big red button, all the assets go up, the house prices go up, the stock market's on fire, the speculative assets are all mooning. You think, this is amazing, everyone's getting richer. But they're not. Some people are doing okay. The people who own the assets, not only are they suffering on their cost of living paycheck to paycheck, they don't own any of the assets. And the chance of them ever buying assets in the future is accelerating away from them. And as the house prices go up, the rent goes up, it drives more homelessness at a time when people are living on the breadline. More homelessness, more intervention from the government. And then what happens, because the assets are going up, it becomes common understanding that you don't keep the Fiatellos in your pocket anymore. You've got to be invested. If you're not invested, you're a fool. You should be buying that second home, buying stocks on leverage. You should be taking risk because the markets never go down. The banking sector is pushing debt on the consumer, on the corporate, on the state level. And when you have high asset prices, lots of consumer debt at a time where people are struggling, it means people can't buy a house on one salary anymore. Families have to have both parents working just to afford a mortgage and afford to live. And when both parents are working, you start to get the breakdown of the nuclear family. They're spending less time together, less time with each other. They can afford to have fewer children because the economics don't work. You can't not be working because you'll lose the house. You can't have those children. People make compromises. For those who aren't in the position to start buying a house, who are renting or earlier in their life's journey, they start to see the asset prices accelerating away from them and come to the conclusion that, well, I'm never going to be able to buy a house. So why should I spend any of my time saving? I should live my best life. I'll go on holiday. I'll have fun. I'll live for today, not for tomorrow. And and then some people are much worse off. They're slipping into hopelessness and addiction because they're on a treadmill of decline. And all of this leads to a mental health crisis and bigger government. And at this point, between the misallocation of capital and the additional leverage in the economy and the banking sector, it leads to the next emergency. And Fiatello only has one choice, and it's to press the big red button again. He's got to print more money. And now he's realizing it wasn't consequence-free. But now we're lurching from crisis to ever bigger crisis. He hits the big red button, he debases the currency, and he creates a bigger government. But now he's created a set of parasitic industries attached to the government. It's very unclear to the population where the government ends and these industries begin. The government becomes very protective over the industries instead of the population. And he realizes this is not free market capitalism anymore, it's crony corporatism. And then the media gets captured because the biggest spenders for the media companies are the people connected to the government. The government cannot allow free speech, misinformation, disinformation. It clamps down to ensure that the government narrative is pervasive throughout the media. And when you have media captured, the military-industrial complex fomenting strife on foreign shores, as we very much know at the moment, then you get the creation of the forever wars. And between the forever wars, the banking system bailouts, and the excessive debt, you have the creation of the next emergency. And this time, it's just so much bigger. He has to press the big red button again. But now there's a massive loss of trust. And it goes round and round and round until something breaks. But what's happening to the money? He's destroyed the productivity gains from the free market accruing to the money, and he's printing fiatellos on top. So now the money is melting. And for the first time, so much time has passed, the wall down the middle of the island starts to crack. And people and capital can move from one side to the other. And the wealth and the people start to leave Fiatello's side of the island. The escape valve is open. People realize they can't save in fiatellos. So they sell the fiatellos to buy satoshis, which makes the fiatellos decline further in value, triggering more budgetary and currency crises for Fiatello to deal with. He has to hit the big red button again. But this time, printing money is not enough, because there's a leak in the system. He has to patch the leak. So he changes another aspect of the money, which is the censorship-resistant nature of it. You now can't hold it yourself. You must put it in the banks. The banks are going to protect you. They're going to keep you safe. We've got to fight terrorist financing. We're going to fight money laundering. We're going to protect you from fraud. We're going to check all the transactions. And now it's very hard to buy satoshis at all. Well, people do find a way. Capital always finds a way. So where does it end? Well, it's one of four places. It's either in sustained inflation, bordering on hyperinflation. It's definitely asset seizures. Now all the fiatellos in the bank, he'll one day wake up and realize he can't solve the problem. So we're all in it together, and the population will be bailed in. It's communism. The solution at every step has been more government involvement, and that only ends up in one place, or it's worse. But people want to hold satoshis, not fiatellos. So if we go back to our characteristics list, he only changed 2 of them, and look what happened. But the dollar is so much worse. The dollar's compromised on the same 2 and materially worse on the other 5. And the dollar's got a major Fiatello problem. They're losing $2 trillion a year on $6 trillion of spend. And you've seen this chart already in these last couple of days. But the US is printing infinite amounts of money to try and cover this. Losing $2 trillion a year, $36 trillion in debt, I know another $50 to $200 trillion in future obligations for Medicare, Medicaid, security, etc., etc. They're destroying the purchasing power of the dollar. But the dollar's the best we have. Everything else is so much worse. Most of us in this room would swap our currencies with the dollar in a heartbeat. Many currencies have ceased to exist over the last 10 years, and anyone who tried to store their economic energy in them has seen it evaporate. So the unfortunate reality is, as we all know by now, is that nothing stops this train. So what is the solution? There's only one, and that's the separation of money and state. And we can see from this that if we fix the money, we fix the world. Nobody should have access to a big red button. And the solution is Bitcoin, obviously. And even Fiatello is a convert now. So Thank you very much, everybody.
Secure your BTC Prague 2026 ticket at the lowest possible price now.